I can't believe we're already at week 9. It's time to talk about some matchups. In this episode, we're going to talk about running backs, their regular season matchups, weeks 9 through 14, and the playoff matchups, weeks 15 through 17. Jeffrey is going to be announcing the players. Say what's up to the people, Jeffrey.
Good afternoon, Bay Nation.
So without further ado, let's get it started. Running backs with the best regular season matchups. Jeffrey
Devin Singletary.
and Tyrone Tracy have the easiest matchup. Who's number 2?
Saquon Barkley.
That's awesome.
Kyron Williams.
Wow, at 3rd? Having 2 top 5 running backs with good regular season matchups? Nice.
Devon Achane. And Raheem Mostert.
Miami boys sitting at 4. It's pretty good, as long as 2 stays on the field.
Isaiah
Imagine that this is
Pacheco.
Kareem Hunt, because Isaiah Pacheco will not be back in time. Hunt, 5th easiest rest of the season schedule. Let's go. At 6 we have,
Rashad White.
and Bucky Irving. Don't sleep on the rook.
Breece Hall.
And Braylon Allen in 7th.
Alvin Kamara.
Chilling in 8th.
Chase Brown. And Zach Moss.
Coming in at 9th. Not bad. And to round out the top 10,
Kenneth Walker III.
those are some great running backs. They have an easy rest of the season schedule. Are you going to be going after any of those? And how many of those do you have on your roster already? Let's get it. Now, running backs with the worst regular season schedule. At number 1 we have J.K. Dobbins. Imagine this is a Chargers uniform. Gotta get that updated. Second hardest matchup is
Travis Etienne Jr.
going from being injured to having the second hardest matchup for the rest of the season.
Javonte Williams.
The third hardest matchup for the rest of the regular season, and he's been top 24 the last 3 weeks. Might be a sell high.
Zamir White.
And Alexander Madison, considering he's pretty much taken over that role.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs has been pretty good recently. He's been top 7 the last 5 weeks. Not bad. 5th hardest schedule for the rest of the regular season, though. Not optimal. At 6 we have,
Chuba Hubbard.
then,
Najee Harris.
7th worst. Not great. Don't like that. But I do like the new look of the offense.
Derrick Henry.
I'm not concerned at all with Derrick Henry having the 8th hardest schedule. He is Derrick Henry. The king lives on.
Ezekiel Elliott. And Rico Dowdle.
I am concerned about them because they're not good. Can't really trade them, though, because they've been pretty bad recently. And to round out the top 10,
James Cook.
who's been pretty good on the season. 8th running back so far this year, but in the last 5 weeks, chilling around the top 20 at 19. 10th hardest matchup isn't terrifying, though, so I think you can keep rolling with him. But it's not getting easier from here. Now that we've covered the regular season, let's shift over to the playoffs, baby. Running backs with the easiest playoff matchups. Number 1, Jeffrey.
James Conner.
You might actually be able to get James Conner. He's been running back 20 over the last 3 weeks, but on the year, he's top 10, and he's got the easiest playoff matchups. So if you're good for the regular season and just shooting for the playoffs, James Conner might be a good target. Keep in mind, he always misses time, so he's probably going to miss a game or 2 between now and the playoffs, but hopefully that just doesn't come in the playoffs. Moving on to number 2.
Rashad White.
And Bucky Irving. This is a split backfield. So neither one of these guys is getting a majority of the work, but both of them should be viable in the playoffs. The upside is limited because they're splitting work, but they're both getting targets and getting work on the ground. Second best playoff matchups, not too bad. But if one goes down, oh yeah, they pop it off. Y'all are going to be happy with number 3.
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. I know that he has not been as good as some of you expected him to be, but he's still running back 7 on the year, and he's got a fantastic playoff run. 3rd easiest schedule? Sign me up. Y'all probably feel the same about this next guy.
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson. Both of these guys have backups that are getting more work than you probably expected. Tajay Spears is involved, but Bijan Robinson, I feel like should end the season on the right note. And this next one, the rich just keep getting richer.
Saquon Barkley.
This dude has looked fantastic in Philadelphia, and now you give him a good playoff matchup? Yes, please. He's going to be tough to get off people's rosters if you try to trade for him. Especially having the 5th easiest schedule for the playoffs. I'm ready for that run.
Alvin Kamara.
At 6 is pretty good. He's been great so far this year. He's come down in the last 5 weeks. I believe he has a hand injury, but he's looking good for the playoffs. 6th easiest matchup. I'm going to speed through 7 through 9.
Rico Dowdle. And Ezekiel Elliott. Zamir White.
And Alexander Madison at 8th.
Tony Pollard.
At 9th, he is actually probably pretty easy to get. And to round out the top 10,
Josh Jacobs.
nice. I like this offense, and Josh Jacobs in the playoffs should be pretty good. running backs with the worst playoff schedule. Jeffrey, start at number 1.
Yes, sir. Najee Harris.
Yikes. He's actually been really good recently. In the last 3 weeks, he's been top 5. Let's go! Russell Wilson has really made a change here. And with the hardest playoff matchups, if you already think you're making the playoffs, you might want to sell high on Najee.
Joe Mixon.
With the second hardest matchups in the playoffs, Joe Mixon is still one of those dudes. But what could you get for him? Not saying you actually have to trade Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is great. And I think he's going to be necessary in this offense. They really move through him. But the second hardest playoff matchups, no bueno.
Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Nick Chubb.
Has the 4th hardest playoff matchups. And honestly, he hasn't been great since he's been back. Happy he's back. I think that eventually he could get back to himself. But I'm not really counting on it for this year. I think that's more going to be a next year improvement. The 5th hardest schedule might make a few people sad.
Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert.
I know people are trying to rely on Devon Achane, and not to say that you'd have to get rid of him by any means, but you'd always prefer an easier playoff matchup. And to be frank, things can change from now until the playoffs. It's 6 weeks away. Defenses can get better, worse. Injuries happen. So this is not an end-all be-all, just helping you plan for the future.
DeAndre Swift.
With the 6th hardest matchups, I've honestly been impressed with him recently. He's the 4th best running back in the last 5 games. That's actually kind of wild. Good job, Swift. 6th hardest matchup, not optimal, but you've been better than I thought you'd be.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Most likely Kareem Hunt. I doubt Isaiah Pacheco can come back and be fantasy relevant, but 7th hardest matchups in the playoffs, that's not great, even if he does come back. But Kareem Hunt, I think, is going to be viable. 7th hardest matchup, he's still going to be in the red zone because he's with the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Patrick Mahomes is healthy, this offense will be good enough to get into the red zone. These last 3 are unfortunate.
Kenneth Walker, the 3rd.
At 8th, I really like Kenneth Walker in general. He's been the 2nd best running back in the last 5 weeks. Love to see it.
Devin Singletary.
And Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy's looked good recently. 9th hardest matchups. That's not optimal, but 9th is not the worst. And lastly,
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, as long as Joe Flacco is here, I think will be a good running back. I get worried when Anthony Richardson's out there just because the offense isn't as good. Anthony steals touchdowns from him on the ground, and I just don't think he's a very good quarterback. Joe Flacco gives this offense a chance to actually move down the field and be viable, and that helps Jonathan Taylor. Running backs with great regular season and playoff matchups, as well as the worst.
Rashad White.
And Bucky Irving both have great matchups. 6th easiest matchups for the regular season and the 2nd easiest matchup for the playoffs. Love to see it. They're splitting work, so their upside is definitely capped. But if you already have them on your team, I definitely think that they should be viable from here to the end of the playoffs. If one of them goes down, I definitely think they'll be a top play. But regardless, love their matchups.
Saquon Barkley.
Saquon has fantastic matchups. The rest of season, 2nd easiest matchups. In the playoffs, the 5th. The rich keep getting richer. Saquon's been incredible so far this week, running back 3 on the year. And now we get some great matchups. Let's go!
Alvin Kamara.
Lower on the tier, but still good matchups. 8th for the rest of the regular season. 6th for the playoffs. This next player is the exact opposite. He's bad in the rest of the season and awful matchups in the playoffs.
Najee Harris.
Hate to see it. The 7th hardest matchup for the rest of the regular season and the hardest matchups in the playoffs. Yikes. Hopefully that shifts. Like I said before, teams are going to get better and worse from now into the playoffs. This is just a good representation of where we think they are now. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to the fantasy footballers. They do strength of schedule adjusted for their opponents. Love to see it. Side note, I recommend you using them in general. In my opinion, they're the best in the industry. Their ultimate draft kit is fantastic, as well as their season-long stuff. And their strength of schedule is super useful. So if you haven't, head on over there and use their stuff. One day I shall have my own website empire. But for now, I definitely recommend their stuff. Strength of schedule is very useful, especially this time of year. And they have 1,000 other tools. I'm not here to just straight up promote all their stuff, but they are very good. In my opinion, they're the best. So what'd you think? Are you going to make any actions from this? Did this change your opinions on how you're looking at any of these players of the rest of the regular season? Let me know down in the comments. I appreciate all the feedback. one of the reasons I made this video is because y'all wanted to know strength of schedule. How's everybody looking at for the rest of the season? I gave you that and through the playoffs. Let's get it. So you're speaking, I'm listening. I'm excited about where we are in the season. I have so many more things to show you. I don't have time to do the grading system right now, but I want to go into a deep dive on running backs because I have even more statistics for running backs. Running backs have awesome stats. Missed forced tackles, elusive rating, so many things that I want to go over with y'all, and I'll be doing that soon. But I have so many more videos to make today. I can't spend as much time on it as I'd like to. Maybe I can show you a little sneak peek. Maybe I have time for a quick overview. Let's look at Saquon Barkley. He's been absolutely incredible this year. The best he's been in years. This is the best fantasy football output that Saquon Barkley has had since 2019. And he's doing it without catching the ball too much. Right now he has a C+ in targets. My man normally chills at an A minus. Back when he had Eli, it was like A+. That's not really where it's getting him. He's going crazy on these carries. And his yards per carry, his yards per attempt, A+. Touchdowns, A. Let's check out his totals. A in opportunities, A+ in total yards, A+ in total touchdowns. He's getting it done. And he does still get work on the goal line. I know Jalen Hurts is taking touchdowns out of his hands. But right now he's A+ in carries inside the 5-yard line. Love to see that. He's an A at converting those into touchdowns. Love to see it. But breakaway is really where he gets his bread and butter. This man is breaking away at a crazy clip. A+ in breakaway attempts, percentage, yards, explosive plays, and you see it when you watch him. I feel like every time I turn around, my man has a chunk play. Moving down to the elusive ratings. A+ in missed forced tackles after a carry. Same with A+, yards after contact per attempt, an A in elusive rating. The man is getting it done. And now you're telling me he has the second easiest schedule for the rest of the regular season and the 5th easiest in the playoffs? Saquon might win you some championships. Let's get it. You and me, because I just traded for him in my Dynasty League. Let's go. So that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and the notification bells down below. If you have any questions, hit me up. I appreciate all the feedback. It's been really helpful. Hopefully you're enjoying these videos. Let me know your... Jeffrey got a little side Jeffrey. There we go. I got a lot of content coming, guys. So strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. See you soon. Good luck in your matchups this week. Peace.